In 1934, with its economic situation improving, Poland was able to order two more destroyers. They still couldn't build them themselves, but they could afford to order them from where they wanted to originally, England. Two were to be built in England, with a second pair to be built in Poland, but the war aborted the second pair. The first two entered service in 1937 as the 1,975-ton Grom class. For their type and time, these were okay ships, roughly on par with the British Tribals. When completed, they were individually among the best destroyers in the world for a surface action, certainly some of the fastest. They knew in a war they would be surrounded and outnumbered, so they had to be ready for a fight. In keeping with Polish tactics, both were completed for mine laying. Their main drawbacks were that their main guns weren't dual purpose, and that being built for the eastern Baltic, they were lively in rough weather and relatively short-ranged. Both were saved from annihilation at the start of the war by being part of the Peking force that headed to England at the end of August 1939. Grom would be an early loss, but Błyskawica would fight on throughout the war, being modified and taking the fight to the enemy whenever it could. Post-war, she was handed back to the Polish Navy and rearmed with Soviet weapons and radar. Eventually, she was preserved as a museum ship, of which the Poles can rightfully be proud. Grom, or Thunder, was started July 17, 1935, and was completed May 11, 1937. Błyskawica, or Lightning, though I will also accept I didn't hear no bell, was started November 9, 1935, and was completed November 27, 1937. Main armament was 7 120mm 50 caliber Bofors guns in 4 mounts, 2 forward and 2 aft. Mounts B, X, and Y being twins, and Mount A being a single. Again, these were single-purpose low-angle guns. 2 triple 533mm torpedo mounts were carried on the center line at the main deck level between the funnel and the rear superstructure. 2 depth charge rails were fitted for 40 depth charges. 44 mines could be carried. Propulsion was provided by 4 boilers in 2 compartments venting to 1 trunked funnel. These provided steam to 2 turbines, each running a propeller, to generate 54,000 horsepower. This gave them a theoretical top speed of 39 knots, but realistically more around 37-ish. A British sonar was fitted from the beginning. In February 1940, both traded their rear torpedo mounts for a 76mm anti-aircraft gun, had their mines removed, and had other work done to make them more stable in the Atlantic. Between February through December 1941, Błyskawica was rearmed. All 4 low-angle Swedish 120mm mounts were removed and replaced with 4 twin dual-purpose 104mm 45 caliber mounts along with high-angle fire control. The 76mm gun was removed and the rear triple torpedo mount was reinstalled along with 20mm light anti-aircraft. 2 depth charge launchers were fitted. Types 291 and 272 radar were fitted, and the old sonar was placed with the newer Type 128. From May to July 1942, Błyskawica was again modified. Both triple torpedo mounts were removed. The forward one was replaced with a quadruple 533 torpedo mount, and the aft one was again replaced with a 76mm anti-aircraft gun. 2 more depth charge launchers were added. Grom and Błyskawica were part of the Peking group that escaped Poland literally hours before the German invasion and arrived in England on the evening of September 1st, 1939. Grom spent the rest of September escorting convoys while Błyskawica joined the Channel Force. In November, they joined the force patrolling the North Sea, hunting U-boats, laying mines, etc. for the rest of the year. In April 1940, they sailed with the home fleet to take part in the Battle of Norway. While bombarding German troops near Narvik, Grom was bombed and sunk when her torpedoes detonated. With the Battle of France having begun in the middle of the month, Błyskawica returned to England and took part in the Dunkirk evacuation for the rest of the month. This was followed by a refit at Portsmouth, where she took part in the defense of the city. From August until late September, she escorted an Atlantic convoy, then rejoined the Channel force, sporadically mixing it up with German forces until late October, when she collided with a freighter and had to head back to England for repairs. With repairs completed at the start of December, she was assigned to convoy duty, but hit a storm and was again damaged, so had to sail back to England for more repairs, this time in reverse. Again repaired in February 1941, she sailed to escort a convoy to Iceland, but again was damaged in a storm on the 14th and again had to return to Glasgow for repairs and rearming. While there, she added her anti-aircraft defense to the city of Glasgow. With overhaul and repairs done at the start of December 1941, she escorted a convoy to Iceland. From mid-February 1942, she engaged in vital anti-submarine warfare training, but in early April was again damaged in a storm, sending her back to port for more repairs and another refit. Again, while there, she added her anti-aircraft and smokescreen to the defense of the Isle of Wight. With repairs completed in mid-August, she escorted some of the ships that would make up the pedestal convoy to Gibraltar, but was reassigned to escort an Atlantic convoy before the battle. Not to be left out, at the end of December 1942, she was assigned to Force H in the Mediterranean, which was operating from Gibraltar to Mers el-Kebir, being based at Beaune. At the beginning of 1944, she returned to England to conduct ASW training and patrol the English Channel. In June 1944, she escorted the D-Day landings and on June 8th took part in the Battle of Ushant, where she and her force stopped some German ships from getting to the invasion fleet. She spent the rest of the war training and escorting convoys. After the war, she took part in Operation Deadlight, the scuttling of dozens of U-boats. Eventually, she was returned to the now Soviet-controlled Poland and eventually rearmed with Soviet weapons. In 1977, she was converted to a museum ship, which, if you're in Poland, you can still visit to this day.